So now that the ANC is at 40%, we need to talk about the Tripartite Alliance, the alliance the ANC has with COSATU and the Communist Party. So, Byron, to me, the Labour unions and the Communist Party have really screwed the ANC. But somehow the ANC still wants to listen to them.
Yes, so one must remind themselves what the situation is with the ANC and the Tripartite Alliance. So the ANC is in a Tripartite Alliance with the South African Communist Party and COSATU, the trade union. There's basically the communists and socialists, and then there's the ANC, who are supposed to be the centralists. So you may look at that and say, well, why? Well, the answer actually comes a little bit in history. So if you recall, back in the day, the ANC was basically a black nationalist organization, and the South African Communist Party said to them, you should probably work with some whites and you might be able to get some funding from Russia. So they did. COSATU was the largest trade union, and the idea behind that was to garner the workers, and the workers would then, all being garnered, vote for the ANC and keep the ANC in power until Jesus comes back. Problem is, Ramon, no one knows who the SACP is anymore. Communist Russia's dead, so there's no funding coming from them. The ANC have all of the grift they can do themselves. They don't really need the Communist Party for that. And COSATU's weakened. They didn't really galvanize the masses to actually vote for them. So the actual power and influence of the SACP and COSATU are greatly diminished, in that the ANC didn't get 50%, and that, to a degree, both of them are now more a hindrance to the ANC than they are a help.
Well, I mean, that's what any reasonable person would think, because I saw the headline that says COSATU does not want an alliance with the DA because it doesn't protect the workers and apartheid will come back and all the rest of it. And now, in history, in the past, the ANC might say, yeah, that's a valid thing to say, so we'll side with COSATU. But right now, I think it's in the ANC's interest to tell COSATU to go fuck themselves. They didn't bring the workers to the polls. All they've done is to increase state debt dramatically through the Civil Wage Bill. They have prevented the ANC from doing any form of reforms whatsoever in terms of the Civil Wage Bill, in terms of firing teachers, in terms of a variety of things. And as for the communists, they have blown out the deficit thanks to Pravin Gordhan, and they've destroyed our industry through Ibrahim Patel. So these people have not helped the ANC at all. Maybe the ANC should tell them to fuck off.
Yes, so if you actually look at the main issues that caused the ANC to lose the elections, there were basically only really a couple. Number one was, if you recall, unemployment, because we got a lot of it. We got a lot of it because our labour legislation isn't really optimally aligned to international standards. Yes, it might protect the worker, and the worker has far more rights than the employer. And one of COSATU's arguments are that if the DA comes to power, it will prioritize the employer over the worker. But you see, market forces rely on you having more employers than workers, because then the employers can bid for the workers and offer them the best situation or the best prospects of employment. The second thing is that the South African Communist Party, in its bid to centralize everything, has meant that all of the state-owned enterprises pretty much fucked. And you need those state-owned enterprises, such as electricity, ports, and railways, in order to grow industry. Growing industry grows jobs. These two issues, or these two entities, are directly responsible for the unemployment rate. There is a second part of that, and that's electricity. And Ramon, if you recall, underneath the Director program, not that we're massive fans of Director, but that's by the bar, you may recall that Director tried to stamp out corruption, and in doing that, one of the trade unions that were responsible or working at Eskom actually sabotaged Eskom and tried to force the load shedding stages up, burning infrastructure so that they could get a wage increase and that they could have a better or stronger stranglehold on Eskom rather than Eskom being able to tackle their debt and their corruption. So in that respect, that load shedding issue that we are experiencing can be attributed to potentially the trade unions. So the trade unions and the South African Communist Party together are responsible for the two main issues that caused the ANC to lose the election: unemployment and lack of electricity.
Exactly. And now these same two entities want to tell the ANC who to go into coalition with. It's insane. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's like your drunk uncle coming and telling you who to marry. You're not going to listen to those people. You're going to tell them to get out of your house. This is what the ANC should do as well to these two entities. These entities and the conditions of the alliance in general are no longer around. We're no longer living in a Soviet era 1980s Cold War. We're living in 2024, for goodness sake. We're dealing with globalism. We're dealing with multipolar world. We're dealing with AI. We're dealing with a lot of stuff. But all these idiots can think of is at the workers and then sort of nationalization. Like it's retarded. Like the ANC should grow something, like a bunch of testicles, and just tell them that the alliance doesn't work anymore because it's impacting the ANC more than any other party. And it's preventing them from achieving true power.
Yes, and let's us not forget that is fundamentally factual. COSATU and the SACP do not appear on the ballot box. And if they did, they would both garner less support than Action SA. So at the end of the day, Razin Zamzi's got more parliamentary seats than COSATU and the SACP. And they got fuck all seats. So what we could easily infer from this is if they're so concerned, why don't they stand in the elections themselves? And on that thought, Ramon, they actually threatened the ANC with that very thing over the last 4 years. If you don't give us what you want, a renegotiated alliance, we will campaign directly against you in the elections as standalone entities. And the ANC is now at the position where it didn't get a majority. It's not in power through all of the SACP and COSATU. And what it should do is now say, it's our name on the ballot box, not yours. And if you're so convinced that you're so great, stand in the elections yourselves. And if you manage to get 20 or 30% of the vote, maybe next time we'll do a coalition with you and you can set the terms of the coalition agreement.
Exactly. And, you know, this did happen in the past. In 2019, Irvin Jim, the head of NUM, had a political party. It's called the Social Workers Party. They got 20,000 votes. And this is a union with hundreds of thousands of members. That's why COSATU doesn't go to the ballot box. That's why the SACP doesn't go to the ballot box. Because they will be the next Razin Zanzi, except Oppenheimers wouldn't fund them. These are useless institutions that don't need to exist. ANC, I know you got Cyril as the president. The guy doesn't even know how to put underpants on in the morning. But please, for God's sake, for the ANC to survive, you need to kill the Tripartite Alliance. It is that simple.